The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association of Canada's webinar on our My Hope ministry. My name is Fred Weiss, and I'm the Executive Director with Billy Graham Evangelistic Association of Canada. And I'm glad you could join us today. I trust the information that we share today will be interesting, encouraging, and be practical in your evangelistic ministry. Now, in just a minute, I'm going to invite David McFarland, our Director of National Initiatives with BGA Canada, to come and share about our My Hope ministry, how churches across Canada are using it, and some of the impact stories that those churches have shared with us. We're also going to be playing a short video trailer for you of our latest My Hope video, Value of a Soul. I think you'll enjoy that video. It's just been released, and it, along with our other My Hope resources, is available now for pastors and ministry leaders across the country. Following that, we're going to have the opportunity to meet two of the individuals who are instrumental in the development of this video. They are Tim Smith, the executive producer, and Micah Baumgars, the senior producer, both out of Charlotte. We look forward to having them with us shortly. Now, during the final 30 minutes of this webinar, you're going to have an opportunity to watch the video Value of a Soul in its entirety. Now, outside of a few members of our ministry team, you'll be the first people in Canada that get a chance to see this video. So now I'm going to invite David to join us. David continues to give leadership to the BGA Canada's ministry as we desire to support and equip pastors for their evangelistic efforts across this country. David?
Thank you so much, Fred. Really appreciate that. Thank you also for taking the time to join us for this webinar today. I get invited across the country by churches to speak, and often I'll ask a show of hands, please, if you know somebody you love, you care for, a person you work for, or a neighbor that you would really, really like to see come to Christ. And hands go up all over the place. Maybe that's true of you too. You can think now of neighbors, friends, people you work with that don't know Christ. And the key is that God really wants to reach them. And I believe He wants to do it through you and me. In the Gospel of Luke, chapter 15, Jesus gives this wonderful parable. He says, or suppose a woman has 10 valuable silver coins and loses one. Won't she light a lamp and look in every corner of the house and sweep every nook and cranny until she finds it? And when she finds it, she will call her friends and neighbors to rejoice with her because she has found her lost coin. And then Jesus teaches this. In the same way, there will be joy in the presence of God's angels when even one sinner repents. We see God's heart in this beautiful passage about how He wants to see people come to know His Son, Jesus Christ. And the woman represents you and me that need to do whatever it takes to reach out to friends and neighbors. I think all of us want to see people come to Christ. The challenge is, how do we do it? Well, the Value of a Soul, which is the latest in the My Hope videos, gives us an opportunity to do that through your church, through your home group, even one-on-one. We have some resources that you can go to this website and you can pick up all the resources that we're going to cover now, materials to help you to reach out to your friends, to your neighbors, and to help them ultimately become part of your church. There's a circle here which shows a very simple plan. My mother used to say to me, David, it's okay to dream, but when the alarm goes off, you better get up and do something about it. And in a way, in Canada, the alarm has gone off. We want to see people come to Christ, our friends, our neighbors, and this is a way that you could do it. First, it starts with prayer. You need to start praying. And of course, you already know that, so I'm just encouraging you to do that. Then to plan. Sometimes the simplest plans are the best plans. Then to promote it, to invite people. Who can we invite and how can we invite them? And then when they're there and we show the video that clearly presents the gospel, to present Christ and give an invitation for people to commit their lives to Christ. And then finally, provide. And provide means to follow up on them, provide the resources they need so they become functioning members of the local church and reach others for Christ. Probably the best tool of all is this simple list that you can also find on our website. And here you can list the names of 6, 10 people that you know that don't know Christ. So start praying for them every day. As a pastor in 4 congregations across Canada, I use this tool often with our people. And they would make lists of people they'd be praying for, and God would answer prayer. It would make us aware of opportunities to invite them to gospel events. And many of these people came to Christ in answer to specific prayers done on a daily basis by people from this very list. So let's go back then to that circle. So to pray, to plan, to promote, to present, and then to provide the follow-up. I heard it said that no church plans to fail, but unfortunately, many fail to plan. Unfortunately, again, the results are the same. So we want to be intentional, and this is a tool, the value of a soul, that you could use, and it's a wonderful tool indeed. So you say, how could I use this tool? Well, I'll tell you what it is first. It's a half-hour video which, through 3 stories, testimonies, and the gospel is presented clearly, in this case, by Franklin Graham, people hear the gospel for the first time. And then when the gospel presentation finishes, Franklin Graham leads us in a sinner's prayer, and we've seen, in fact, hundreds of thousands of people come to Christ all over the world through this very simple tool. So this is one way, not the only way, but one way that we can present the gospel through our church, through our small group, to friends, neighbors, and people that we work with. So I'm going to go through some obvious things. Number one, you could use it one-on-one. You could show it to a friend on a laptop. Say something like, you know that I'm a Christian. This is a 30-minute video I just received, and it clearly explains the Christian faith, what I believe. Would you care to watch it with me? And then watch it. And when it gets to the prayer at the end, say, you know, that prayer reflects where I'm at, where I was at when I committed my life to Christ. Does that reflect where you're at? And you could pray for them, and they could, through hearing the gospel clearly presented, give their life to Christ. This is a tool you could use one-on-one. You could also send a link through Facebook or email of the video to friends and neighbors, and then with a little note, I'd like to discuss it with you once you've seen it. So one-on-one, you can use it for sure. Another idea is to use it in existing meetings. If you're part of a congregation, you probably have all sorts of meetings you already do. One church had ESL, English as a Second Language, and they had about 20 people that took the ESL class, and they did this every week. One week they said, next Tuesday, instead of doing the class, we've got a Christian video, My Hope from Billy Graham, that we're going to show instead of the class. Will you come? And all these people, grateful for the relationship that had been built through the ESL class, they came, all 20 of them, and they watched the video that clearly presented the gospel, very similar to the one, The Value of a Soul. 16 of the 20 committed their life to Christ at that event, an event that was already happening in the church. There are other events like youth event. We have many that show it at a Friday night youth event. The video can be shown. It can be shown at a men's meeting, or it can be shown at a basketball game. Another church, they had basketball. Every Thursday they did basketball. And so one Thursday they said, hey guys, at the end of basketball today, we're going to give you a free dinner. And we're going to show you this video about the Christian faith. So all the people that had enjoyed playing basketball, a group that already had a relationship, they sat down, they ate the meal, watching the video. And many of them committed their life to Christ. So what are the events that you already do, that you're already part of, where you could show it, a men's meeting, a women's meeting, something like that. Another is social events. A dessert evening, for example. There was a lady in Vancouver who had her church was offering it on a Friday night. It was a dessert evening. And they had tickets, which, by the way, you can download from our website. And so the tickets, she had them, and so she and her husband went around and invited over 50 people to come to the church for this social event, which was a banquet dessert evening, to watch the video of one of the My Hope videos. Over 50 people invited by this one couple. Over 30 of them actually came to watch the video. And 13 prayed to receive Christ as their Savior at the event. All through the efforts of one simple couple who prayed, took the time to invite, the church showed the video, and they had dessert, and it was life-changing. In fact, one of the people that came to Christ was from a different country, and he showed up on Sunday and said to the pastor, "Pastor, where do I get one of your holy books now that I've become a Christian?" And that's cool. And so we see that social events is a great idea. Another idea is small groups. There's a church that had 75 small groups in Ontario, and they had all of their small groups show the video. They also showed the video about 20 different times in lots of different contexts, and they claim that some 500 people responded to Christ. Some of them were rededications, many were first-time commitments. So what could we do through small groups? Maybe you have a divorce recovery program or a grief recovery program. You could show the video. Another idea is a special service, such as a big event that you invite unsaved friends to, and that will be just fine. We had a Spanish church who saw 32 people come to Christ when they showed it on a Sunday morning instead of a sermon. In fact, a lot of churches are doing that. They show it instead of a sermon on a Sunday morning. And then we have acts of kindness. Maybe you're already doing acts of kindness in your community, and so you've got all these people you're helping. Maybe you could have them sit down, have donuts and coffee, and watch the video. We have a number of shelters that have shown this program. In other words, you need to think outside the box. What is it that you could do that could help you to show this video? And finally, we have the follow-up. The follow-up is really crucial to everything because we want them to come to know Christ. I was on a television program and somebody phoned in. They saw me on the show and they phoned in. Their name was Mike. And he phoned in and said he wanted to talk to David McFarland, see him on the show. They gave me his number. I phoned Mike up, found out that I knew Mike. About 25 years ago, maybe even 30 years ago, I'd helped him off drugs, and I'd had the privilege to see him come to Christ and helped him clean up his life. And I was trying to follow up on him, had to teach him how to budget. He said, "I don't need to learn how to budget. When I need money, I get a sawed-off shotgun, and I hold up drug dealers because they won't report you to the police." He had 2 contracts out on his life, this character. Big, tall guy. His teeth were rotting mostly through drug use, rotting through drug use, and his eyes were bleary, and he was challenging. He also had trouble with his marriage and relationships, all of those things. Well, I went over and tried to help him, got him a job as a printer, and I remember telling my wife, I said, "Diana, you know, he comes from a different country than mine, you know, different state of mind than mine." Well, eventually he got off drugs. He became part of my youth group. I believe it or not, I was the youth pastor. And, you know, I thought, am I going to make any difference in his life? So I lose track of him. So now 25, 30 years later, he phones the program, and I meet him at a restaurant, recognize him right away. He had all his teeth, they were his. He paid for them. And he tells me how from the moment he came to Christ, he has continued to follow the Lord. He moved to a place called Hull, Quebec. He planted a church, or he's still with his wife. All his children now know the Lord, and 3 of them are in full-time ministry. And I sat back and I thought, wow, I thought I couldn't make any difference in his life, but we can. So we need to do follow-up. And then I want to remind you of the resources. Here is the website again. These are the resources that you can get. You can get ideas, you can get posters, you've got little video clips that you can use to promote the event. But finally, let us know. Please let us know what happens. We'd love to know how you showed the video, if people came to Christ, stories of testimonies. Please contact us so that we can know of the difference that these videos have made in your life. We've talked a lot about the value of a soul. We're about to see now a trailer of the value of a soul that you can show to your congregation before you actually see the movie. So here is a trailer, The Value of a Soul.
People pass, opportunities pass, Men remain unchanged.
I sent my daughters away feeling like I wasn't going to see them again.
I woke up thousands of miles from where I was supposed to be. You really don't know how valuable something is until it's gone.
I'm at odds with my creator. I sold my soul to get to the top.
What should it profit a man if he should gain the whole world and lose his own soul?
I hope you found that to be a very exciting trailer of a really exceptionally done video. One that you will be able to use in your context to see many come to Christ. Now, we have with us from Charlotte, North Carolina, the executive producer, Tim Smith, of The Value of a Soul, and also we have Micah Baumgart, who is the senior producer of The Value of a Soul. I want to welcome both of you to our program. Thank you so much for being with us. Let's start off by asking you, what is The Value of a Soul about?
Well, David, I'll start. This is Tim. The Value of a Soul is the Billy Graham Association's fifth My Hope production. As you mentioned earlier, it's created to spread the gospel through television, video, and the internet. The programs share messages from Billy Graham and Franklin Graham and powerful stories of real people whose lives have been changed for eternity through the power of the gospel. Now, Value of a Soul combines a message from Franklin with stories of three people, Scotty, Laura, and Mark. Okay, and they all have unique stories of how God showed them the value of their own souls and brought them to a saving knowledge of Him.
Yeah, and these three stories kind of combine to reach three different audience groups as we looked at people that are very confident and feel very valuable and self-assured, and then people that don't feel very valuable, who've had a lot of struggles in their life, and then looking at both male and female and a blend of backgrounds, and so coming up with three dynamic stories to share that with people.
This sounds like an excellent tool, which I know it is. Now tell us, I understand that the set you used for the reenactment of one of the scenes was used for American Sniper, the movie, and that there was an explosion. Would you tell us about that?
Yes, well, one of the stories is the story of an Army captain who's involved in Iraq and encounters a suicide bomber and is injured from that. And so as we were telling his story, we really wanted to bring it to life in a unique way, and so we worked to stage that on the set that was used for part of American Sniper. And but the set had just been closed for no more explosions, so we had to find another location next to it to shoot the explosion, found an old gunpowder factory for that. But usually when they do an explosion, they have two vehicles, and it's much more expensive. One vehicle that's the vehicle that drives, and then a shell that you can explode multiple times. But we were trying to do this really cheap and just had one old car that we pushed to make it look like it's driving, and then actually exploded. So we just had one shot, one chance at getting the explosion, and so we did that and shot it with multiple cameras and shot it at 180 frames per second, so we could really slow it down and make a dramatic story, just like you saw in the end of the trailer. There's a lot more that you get to experience in the program.
Wow, that's incredible. You also, I understand, had a lot of emotional moments. These people telling their life story and how they came to Christ. Tell us about the emotional side of the production.
Yeah, well, as we're looking for these stories, we're looking for stories that tap into some of the deepest emotions that we experience to translate, and working to translate that to people as they're watching the program. And the Army captain that we were with, Scotty Smiley, who was blinded through this explosion, actually, and goes through a journey of faith as a result of that. He and his wife, we recorded with them, and his wife was just sharing, you know, what it's like as an Army wife to go through deployments where you see your loved ones leave and don't know if they're coming back, and she was so emotional sharing that with us. She's crying in front of the camera. We were crying behind the cameras, trying to keep it in focus, and she shared very emotionally about the sacrifice that Jesus Christ has made for us, and what He has done. And so, getting to spend some time with them was amazing. Also, Scotty, as part of the program, or following him through the program, we see him attempt an Ironman. And an Ironman is incredible, with over an hour of swimming, 2 miles of swimming, then 6 hours of bike riding, and then a full marathon, running a full marathon. It's a 17-hour race. And so being at the finish line after a lot of people have quit the race, given up along the way. Scotty wanted to. His brother-in-law did this with him since he's blind, so they were on a tandem bike, and his brother-in-law was next to him through all of this, and they would pray together when they felt like quitting. But being at the finish line with his wife to greet him was incredibly emotional for the whole crew, crying along with her. And so there was a lot of other moments with the other folks along the way too that were emotional, and I think come across in the program in a way that that brings their life experience to life for the audience.
Yeah, and David, I would add to that that's not unusual for as we do these stories for God to just create these moments that are just, I'd call them God moments, just things that we're just fortunate to capture and be able to bring back and bring into the stories that we, of course, had no way to really expect, but they turn up and they end up in the stories and just make them that much stronger.
You told me privately about a moment when Scotty was calling his son, and I thought that was very touching. Do you want to refer to that?
Yeah. Well, you know, so Scotty is blind. He and his wife now have 3 children. The youngest of those is 2 years old, little Baylor, and so while we were shooting, Scotty's a dad, and he has to watch the kids, he says jokingly, even though he's blind. His wife works as well as a nurse, and so even while we were there shooting other shots, we would constantly hear Scotty saying, "Baylor, Baylor, where are you, buddy?" And you can imagine it's challenging to be a parent to a 2-year-old blind. So we came back with Baylor ringing in our ears, but it was really incredible to see their faith lived out and shared through Scotty's story.
Sounds very powerful indeed, and I know it is. But you also not only shed tears, but you also had humorous moments, funny moments. What about a bicycle or a motorbike that didn't cooperate?
Yes, so one of the other stories that we have is a biker, Laura Clock, who rides motorcycles, owns a custom bike shop in Mitchell, South Dakota. And we were shooting video of her on the motorcycle that was going with a whole series of shots with her riding the motorcycle, and the motorcycle broke down in the middle of shooting. And so we ended up pushing her as fast as we could and getting the last shots that we needed with her, just pushing the bike. But there were a lot of things where we had to deal with what happened, but we captured some incredible images.
Wow, it sounds like God was there too, obviously. Now, we watched in the trailer and also in the movie that you have helicopters and like a lot of big equipment. Surely that must be extremely expensive to rent to make a movie like this.
Right. Well, actually, there's a lot of opportunities to save money and to do this very cost effectively. One of those is licensing footage and using digital effects now with the power we have in post-production. So some of the helicopter shots were ones that we licensed cheaply from some other companies, and then some of the explosion was digitally added, and even we used Craigslist to find the extras to be a part of the Iraq scene. So there was a lot that we did.
Yeah, and I'd probably add to that, you know, David, throughout these various My Hope programs that we've done, we've been able to find ways to reduce costs, and really I think the Lord has provided a lot of them. But you know, we're always, because we're a ministry, we're able to negotiate with those that are working for us, such as contractors and various suppliers of sets and locations, and we do that quite a bit. We're able to negotiate as far as stock footage and things like that. We've got staff, administrative staff, that also helps us out and is willing to get involved in the programs, both in front of the camera and behind the scenes. So it's really a collaborative effort, and a lot of hours that these guys put in. Mike, not just Micah, but there are other producers and editors that work on the program that I guess, it's a mission of the heart when you work in ministry. So you're willing to go the extra mile to not only make it cost effective, but just to make the quality something that people are going to want to watch and engage in.
But I think this is good for the donors to hear, because they've been sacrificially giving to Billy Graham for many years, and to see that you're very good stewards of the resources is incredibly encouraging, especially with the top quality video that you have produced.
Very important.
So tell us, God has been in this since the beginning. You've told us a few stories. Tell us a bit more about the prayer that goes on behind the production of a video like this.
Sure, I'll tackle that, and Micah might want to add something to that as well. But we actually started praying back in about 2008 as a department that the Lord would provide us an opportunity to kind of directly engage people through.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that. That is awesome to know that there's this much prayer going on behind the scenes for the camera.
In a lot of other areas, but to be able to, be able to produce products that go right in front of those unchurched, those that are needy, was some.
That is amazing. Yeah, the amount of prayer and even fasting that has gone on before the production of this video was exceptional.
I'm sorry.
Go again, David.
No, I was just filling in. We weren't able to hear you on the live feed just now, so repeat the last few things you said.
Absolutely. Well, the important thing, I think, is that this has been a product of a lot of prayer, and in about 2012, Billy Graham wanted to give a message to North America, and kind of wanted to have his last sermon. And he talked to Franklin about it, and they decided, okay, well, let's contact the guys down in Charlotte, and let's bring a camera crew up there, and we'll capture some of his comments. It was an incredible and fascinating time for me personally, and just as well as everybody, just seeing Mr. Graham. But it was amazing how well he was able to communicate. We produced a program called The Cross, which many of your listeners may be aware of and have seen. At that time, Franklin said, I think we need to do this for about 5 years. I want to commit to doing My Hope programs for the next 5 years. So that's kind of where we're at now. So that was really exciting for us to see God kind of answer our prayers that way. And because of that, we've really continued as a group to continue praying not only pre, but during the process of production, fasting sometimes. It's not always easy. Sometimes we have difficult challenges. We get together, we pray about it. It's you've heard Mr. Graham say before, I'm sure, the three most important things are prayer, prayer, and prayer. And I think that has infiltrated us, and we've seen the value of praying for these projects. And it also kind of takes the personal kind of pat yourself on the back element out of it, because you realize that God wants these programs put together, and you get to kind of just be a tool in God's hands in putting them together. So it has been a really good spiritual journey for all of us, and not without trials, but very good.
Well, clearly the presence of God comes through on the video, as all these people that are going to watch it, you that are watching it now on the webinar will see, and you're about to see at the end the actual full the value of a soul, and I hope that you'll want to use it, and that you want to share it with friends and get it out there. It isn't the only way to share the gospel, but most certainly is an excellent way to share the gospel, and it's available. So please go to our website. I want to thank you, Tim. I want to thank you, Micah. I want to thank you on behalf of everybody that's benefited, all the churches across Canada that have used the previous My Hope videos and the hundreds of people that have come to Christ across our nation. And I'm praying thousands that are going to come to Christ through this new video, this excellent video that you have produced. We could not have done it without you. We're so grateful for your sacrifice and the way that you have committed yourself to produce such excellent quality program for the local church. So Tim and Micah and your team, please, thank you very, very much indeed.
Absolutely, and thank you. We'll be praying for you.
We appreciate that. We could do with your prayers. Absolutely. Now I'm going to hand it back to Fred Weiss, the Executive Director of Billy Graham Canada. And again, thank you so much for watching. The video is still to come, so hang on.
Well, thank you for that, David and Tim and Micah. And I just want to thank everyone who's taken the time to join us for this portion of the webinar. It's been an encouragement to us when you registered and for us to be able to share this with you. I trust the information has been an encouragement to you and that some of the ideas that have been shared with you are practical and will be useful in your evangelistic ministry. Now, I want you to note that you can order the Value of a Soul and other My Hope video resources that David has spoken about at the email address that's on the screen, myhope@bga.ca, or via the 1-800 number. Again, you can use the email address or the 1-800 number. Let us know if you'd like copies, and we'd love to send those out to you. We invite you now to watch the Value of a Soul video in its entirety, but to do so, you're going to need to pay attention to that web address that's on your screen as well, the billygraham.ca. You'll see there's a /myhope, and at that address you will find the Value of a Soul video. Thanks for joining us today. May God bless you in your evangelistic ministry, and we look forward to speaking with you again. Bye for now.